So you have your retirement course all mapped out, and you think you're pretty set. But you know what? The market changes. Taxes change. Perhaps you need a bit of a correction. Marcus Warren is here to talk about that. He is, of course, with Warren Wealth Management. Marcus, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
All right. So I find this interesting because I think a lot of us tend to think, okay, I've got this plan. I'm going to stick to it by the letter. But sometimes there's cases where maybe a little correction. You like using that word correction, right?
Yeah, so, there are these course correction events that can happen throughout your working career as you're planning for retirement. Obvious course corrections would be, when there's a market downturn. The market takes a sharp downturn. Even if the market jumps up, a lot of times that calls for some rebalancing, balancing the portfolio to your risk tolerances when the market goes one way or the other. That's a course correction. Really, a lot of seniors have had to do a lot of course corrections lately simply because, really over the last 20 years, because interest rates have basically dropped almost to zero for the most part. So if you were a saver, had invested in CDs, loved your bonds, you basically saw those rates go from, 20, 25 years ago to 6, 7, 8%. All the way down to nothing, and it's forced a lot of seniors to take on more risk and try to get a good rate of return by going into the market. So that's a course correction. Of course, there's just the obvious course correction when there's an unexpected health event, something like that happens. You got to change some things for retirement, unexpected deaths, things of that nature. But yes, you have to be prepared for these course corrections in retirement.
I would think there'd be a course correction too when you're working, when you're an individual that is working. That's one thing.
Yep.
Then when you're transitioning into retirement, suddenly things change. Yeah, the rules change. What you should be keeping your eye on probably changes. Talk a little about that, Marcus.
Yeah, so that's the biggest transition, going from working to retirement. You go from saving for retirement to spending in retirement, and that's the biggest thing. And so since that's the biggest transition and the biggest course correction, because you basically go from while you're working, you're putting money into your retirement plan, you're building up that nest egg, you're getting a paycheck from your employer. In regards to investments, you should be more concerned about the return on your money, that you're able to get good returns. Now, during your working years, the market's going to go up, it's going to go down. But that really doesn't matter as much, simply because if you're doing it the right way, you're contributing to your IRA, your 401k each and every paycheck. And a matter of fact, a market downturn during that time, actually you're buying low because you're taking money out of your paycheck and putting it in the market. And so you finally make it all the way up, and you're about to make that transition to retirement, and that is when these course corrections happen. Now, you go from getting that paycheck from that employer to now it's gone and you're responsible for that paycheck. You shouldn't be. Well, you always should be concerned about the return on your money, but more importantly, in retirement, you should start to be concerned about the return of your money, that you're able to use it and spend it in retirement. And then lastly, just like I said, when the market is going up and it's going down, it's going up and it's going down. When the market goes down, now you're not putting money in, you're taking money out. So that's why you have to start adjusting that risk in retirement. So there's a lot of different course corrections that happen on the way down.
Okay, you mentioned a couple of events there that said that, okay, you need a correction, like, for instance, a change in the market.
Right.
You mentioned maybe you have a health issue. Knock on wood, we hope you do not, but that would be an event where you need a correction. What other kind of things could possibly happen where you need to make a little bit of a course correction?
So in retirement, there's a lot of different things that you have to focus on. There's income planning, risk management, and then there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen once you're in retirement that would require a course correction. There's, just withdrawing your money too quickly. About 30 or so years ago, a financial advisor came out with what he called the 4% rule, and people just applied what they call the 4% rule, basically saying that in any given year in retirement, you should take no more than 4%. If you take more than 4%, then you're in danger of running out of money. However, that's changed since then because people are living a lot longer, and a lot of those assumptions, that 4% assumptions, was based on bonds and fixed income types of investments doing 6 or 7%. And of course, we know that interest rates have dropped. And so now taking out that 4%, it could cause you to run out of money in retirement. So a lot of advisors have ratcheted that down a little bit. And so that changes. And then you also have what's called sequence of return risk, or a pitfall that can happen, especially when you're in retirement. And that's just basically you getting the wrong or a bad sequence of returns right when you retire. So if you wanted to retire back in 2008, and so in 2007, you're sitting in your cubicle, you have that big wall calendar, you're marking those days off as it gets closer to 2008, and then bam, the market drops 40%. And so you have a decision to make. Am I going to work longer, or do I just have to retire with less, right? And so that just happened to be just the sequence of returns that happened to happen once you retired. Conversely, if you decided to retire in 2011, the market's been on a tear for the last 10 or so years. So you happen to retire, purely by happenstance, by the way, in the right time. And so if you couple retiring and getting a bad sequence of return right out of the gate with pulling money out, it can have a detrimental effect on your retirement. And so you have to make sure that you have some sort of principal protection plan, some sort of system when you retire, so you're not subjected to a lot of that risk that happens once you retire.
That makes perfect sense. I would think that for your clients, and I'm curious about you, about the schedule, how often do you talk to your clients? Because I would think when some of these events happen, perhaps some of us who aren't as knowledgeable as you, aren't aware. Do I need a correction? So I would think communication with you as a financial advisor and a tax expert is very important. So how often do you talk to your clients, stay in touch with them, meet with them? How's that work?
So initially, when we bring on a new client, or a client is transitioning from working to retirement, we try to meet as much as we can on the front end to make sure that everything's set, that they understand the plan, they understand the income, and so we're meeting at least every quarter for that first year or so in retirement, just to make sure that everything's set up. Now after that, we need to meet at least twice a year, and so what we do is we meet once a year just to talk about the retirement plan, what's changed. We look at asset allocation, investments, income, all of that stuff. That's number one. Number two, the second meeting that we have to have during that year, since we're also a tax planning firm, which really kind of sets us apart from a lot of these other retirement places, is that now we also sit and have a tax planning meeting. We want to see what potential income you have coming in, and if there's opportunity to save money in taxes.
Yeah, and if taxes do change drastically, and they probably will, that's probably time for another meeting and perhaps another tweak or correction?
Yeah, especially in this environment now. So we already know that the current Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the Trump tax cuts, that they have an expiration date for individuals. They expire at the end of December. So I'm sorry, at the end of 2025. December 31st, 2025 is when taxes are basically going to go back up to what they were back in 2017. So we already know that. But that gives us an opportunity to set our clients up while taxes are the lowest they've been in a generation, on sale, so to speak. So yes, we're meeting with clients a lot now, just to prepare them for higher taxes in the future.
Okay, as far as the market is concerned, and I know no one can predict, or we'd all be millionaires, but with that being said, like you said, the market has been on a tear. Things are going well. Do you anticipate this to go for a while, Marcus? What's your professional opinion?
All right, I'll give you my you remember Cleo, the psychic back in the day, what was it? They the soothsayers, and they dial this 900 number, and then you can give me $5 a minute and I'll tell you your future. All right, that's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to charge you.
Thank you.
All right, so what the market is going to do moving forward. I think that the Fed and the government has been pumping a lot of money into the market, bailouts, things of that nature. So the market is overvalued. However, I think for the next 18 to 24 months, I think we'll still continue to see some sort of run up, right? But I do think that eventually this house of cards will have to have some sort of correction. So, I always tell clients to proceed with caution. We try to be cautiously optimistic. We know that just history alone says that things are cyclical. When the market goes up, it goes down. We've been going up for the last 10, 12 years, the longest, what they call bull market in history. And we're going to have some sort of correction, and you have to be prepared for that. But I think for the short term, we should be fine. Long term, watch out.
All right. Great resource, as you can tell. He always comes in with a different topic and a wealth of knowledge, not only about financial planning, but about taxes as well. So I want to tell you about the Retirement Playbook, okay? And you're going to get this, and you can do this. You can get this Retirement Playbook by calling 502-339-8255, or you can go to warrenwealth.net. Now, if they go there, what kind of charge are we talking about this Retirement Playbook?
It is free of charge, complimentary. So, I wrote a book that's still available on Amazon, the actual hard copy. But we are giving away the ebook, ebook for free for a limited time. So they go to that website or they call the number, get a copy of the book that basically lines out ways to be successful in retirement.
Wow. I love talking to you, and it's funny, you may have noticed if you're watching, I take notes whenever Marcus is on because he is not only a wealth of knowledge, but it is right on point. So thank you very much, Mr. Warren. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Again, Warren Wealth Management. All right.